fall victim to the same kind of crises and erosion of the lifestyle that you see in so many people who get put in the public eye. That won't happen to me, by God's grace.
Hello. Thank you, Stu. That was artist Thomas Kinkade, ironically foreshadowing exactly the pitfall that would end his career, his marriage, and his life. My name is Olivia Yatooma, and I'm here to expose the dark shadows of fame and fortune as tragically illustrated by the self-proclaimed painter of light. To give you a little bit of context into the work of Thomas Kinkade, he became internationally famous for his pastoral and idyllic work, which you can see pictured here. So some of his work includes paintings called Beside Still Waters, Beacon of Hope, Rosebud Cottage, and Lingering Dusk. I want to tell you a little bit about Kinkade's early life, his personal life. So he was born in Sacramento County, California on January 19, 1958. And he grew up in Placerville, California, in a poor household with divorced parents. So although he came from quite literally nothing, Kinkade ultimately attended the University of California at Berkeley in 1976, but transferred to the Art Center College in Design in Pasadena, California. Though he attended two separate universities, he graduated from neither. Kinkade married his wife Nanette, who you can see pictured here, in 1982, and they had 4 daughters together: Merritt, Chandler, Windsor, and Everett. And Kinkade was a family man, which is evident in his paintings. He actually created 4 paintings dedicated to each of his daughters, so you can see them pictured here. The top is Evening at Merritt's cottage, and then Chandler's cottage, Windsor's manor, and Everett's cottage, dedicated to his daughters. So he was a devout Christian who at one point took seriously his charge to use his divinely inspired gift from God for the greater good, which is where the name Painter of Light came about, because in Thomas Kinkade's words, his mission was to spread God's light. So you've heard me refer to him now as the Painter of Light, and that is because in the 1980s, Kinkade gave himself the moniker Painter of Light, but he officially trademarked himself as the Painter of Light in 1996. But like many before him and many since, Kinkade was ultimately burnt alive by the fiery glow of his own spotlight. So, at his peak, Kinkade's paintings were actually in 1 of every 20 American homes. Kinkade has sold more paintings than any other painter in history. And in fact, according to the Park West Gallery, the world's largest dealer, which still sells Kinkade's art, Kinkade has sold more canvases than Monet, Manet, Rembrandt, Renoir, Van Gogh, and Picasso combined. Not yet, but to introduce you to my capstone project, I want you to think back to the last news program you watched in your living room. In the 30-minute news program on the 11 o'clock news, you would have seen a series of short segments. But the big packages, the ones that you saw teased for days during the commercial breaks of your favorite primetime TV show or sports program, those packages were approximately 3 minutes long. So, in the spirit of what I hope to be doing for a living this time next year, I have prepared a made-for-TV, 3-minute-long news package for your viewing. Thomas Kinkade, the most sold artist in history, has paintings showcased in galleries like this one all across the United States. Yet as his billion-dollar company crumbled, his distressed gallery owners were given a disturbing inside look into the dark shadows of his fame and fortune, as tragically illustrated by this self-proclaimed painter of light. Billion-dollar painter Thomas Kinkade was found liable for fraud following the rise and fall of his gallery and licensing business. A Michigan-based law firm filed 2 separate cases on behalf of former Kinkade gallery owners. In both matters, the courts found the Kinkade Company liable for fraud. One of those cases was even challenged all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. Still, the fraud ruling survived. Gallery owners accused Kinkade and his company of driving them into financial ruin by requiring them to buy massive amounts of artwork and sell them at extremely high prices. All the while, the company was undercutting the gallery owners by selling to the public directly at a fraction of the price.
The gallery owners were claiming that, they were being ruined by having to buy all this stuff that they couldn't sell. At the same time, Tom Kinkade and his company were getting rich.
Kinkade was also accused of trading on his Christian faith to entice gallery owners to go into business with him. In the court's judgment, it wrote that Kinkade, quote, created a certain religious environment designed to instill a special relationship of trust surrounding the investment.
He knew what they wanted, and he knew how to talk about it, and it really resonated for a long time.
In addition to his fraudulent activity, Kinkade's obsession with alcohol marked the beginning of the end for both his career and his life.
He was completely obsessed with it. It became the most important thing in his life.
The day before his $1 million payment was due on one of the fraud judgments, the Kinkade Company filed bankruptcy. Shortly after, Kinkade drank himself to death. But Kinkade's death was not enough to kill the fraudulent activity of his company. Mark Mickelson purchased the Kinkade Company out of bankruptcy and began selling what the company called Thomas Kinkade Studio paintings. The Kinkade Company faced additional lawsuits when that Michigan firm discovered that the Kinkade Studio paintings were not painted by a Kinkade-trained artist like they claimed. Instead, artist Blend Coda from his studio in Canada was painting much of the Kinkade Studio art. But Coda says that he never even met Thomas Kinkade.
I never met him. I mean, if you don't meet someone, how you can be trained by him? So, no, I never been trained by Thomas Kinkade.
The Kinkade Company terminated Coda and tied him up in litigation for years, using its non-compete agreement to keep him from working anywhere at all.
I made them millions, no doubt, millions. Didn't get nothing.
At his peak, 100 million people in the United States owned one of Kinkade's paintings, yet he was deemed by many art critics to be a kitschy artist, which Kim Christensen believes played a contributing factor in Kinkade's decline.
Never getting that critical acclaim, maybe led to some of his problems.
Unfortunately, Thomas Kinkade's problems seemed to even outlast his lifetime.
He just kind of kept spiraling down and down, and it finally did him in.
Thank you. And now that you have seen my capstone project, I want to share a little bit about why I chose to shed light on such a specific subject. Do you remember that Michigan-based law firm you heard me refer to twice in my package? That law firm is Yatooma Law. And does that name sound familiar? That's because that law firm is my dad's. So I grew up hearing about Thomas Kinkade and the controversy associated with him because the first time my dad sued Thomas Kinkade was also the year he became a father. But as a future broadcast journalist, I do understand the practices of objective reporting, which is why I intentionally chose not to interview my dad for this project. Although it is not my reporting, I do want you all to hear from my dad directly, though.
A world-renowned artist with ties to the Central Coast is in big trouble with the law tonight. A multi-million-dollar judgment was handed down today against Thomas Kinkade amid accusations that he engaged in fraudulent business practices.
The so-called painter of light is the one that turned the lights off on these franchisees. He put them into total darkness because he made it impossible for them to earn a buck.
Tom Kinkade covered himself in a cloak of Christianity to induce dealers to invest their life savings. Tom Kinkade and his underlings knew they would never see a return on that investment.
You're saying that he was using his faith for profit. Is that accurate?
That's exactly what we're saying.
So as a future reporter and news anchor, I was given a rare opportunity to use resources from many mediums to tell Kinkade's sad story as he paints for us the predatory picture of corruption in big business, unabashedly crushing small businesses and the families who run them.
And I want to create paintings that point people to a better world. Together, we can change the world we live in. That's the end.
Perfect. That's just what I want.
This is my story of the dark shadows of fame and fortune as tragically illustrated by the self-proclaimed painter of light. Thank you.